Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of 1320 Stuff. Today's topic is going to be very interesting. We kind of want to talk about, I call it governmental assistance or just aid or whatever. More specifically, food stamps or child support or
child support isn't
governmental assistance, but it's kind of regulated by the government.
Mandated.
Yeah.
What you're asking.
And just support in general that I feel that there are a lot of us that rely heavily on that. And to me, it was created as an assistance program until you are in a better position in life. But I think most people have used this as sort of a lifelong career, so to speak. And I'm only speaking from
You said a lifelong career? Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, so let's just take this piece by piece. Food stamps, right? I grew up on food stamps. Very beneficial to us growing up. That's how we ate. But again, like I said, it was created to be a program to help you get to until you got to a certain level where you no longer relied on the government for assistance to feed your families. But I know people who have been on food stamps from when I was a child up until now, and I'm 40. So how long is that supposed to be? And are you really okay with that? Now it's almost like it's become, you owe me this type of thing. So don't cut them. Don't get a reduction in your food stamps. So don't cut them or don't kick me off, because then now it's like, woe is me and what am I supposed to do? And y'all just got us out here when you had all of these years to really try to get your life together. And now Lindsey is burning over here.
I'm not.
All right, we just listening. Go ahead.
Letting you, dig your grave.
I'm digging my own grave.
digging.
I'm not saying everybody. I'm just saying there's a lot of people who made a career out of collecting food stamps, and I feel like they could be so much far along in life had they just taken certain steps needed to
You sound like Jared Kushner.
advance themselves. And so I'll just stop right there and get you guys insight on this.
So I feel like I feel like the assistance of food stamps or like the assistance of Section 8 housing and what it does for people, I don't think it puts them in a better position. It is given because you don't make the amount or you don't meet a certain threshold in order for you to sustain your life and take care of your kids and take care of yourself. That doesn't put you in a position to do better. Giving someone food does not put them in a better position to make money to buy food themselves. That comes from different assistance, better opportunities. So just because I got food stamps, that doesn't now mean I'm freed up to do better in life. You know what I mean? Some people are still uneducated. And I think that a lot of people that are on the, and I can't say that there aren't people that have taken advantage, but I do think that it's the same thing. We could talk about what happened with COVID and people getting their unemployment and how unemployment ended up being more than what people were making when they were actually going to work. And I think that reality propels people to stay in a position where they're not getting or doing better or having a job. Because if the reality is the threshold for being eligible for that is poverty. You got to be poor, and I remember being younger in my 20s and I felt super broke and I didn't qualify. And so I'm like, dang, you gotta really be out here bad, right? Mm-hmm. And so if you're really out here bad to that degree, and let's assume you don't have a degree or you don't have life skills or different skills, even if I get the job that I am skilled enough for, it might put me out of the range of being able to qualify, but it isn't going to be enough for me to sustain a life.
Yeah.
And so sometimes you do find people that get more and do better with the assistance than they would if they were to go out and get a job, because it might take them out of the poverty threshold according to the government and what they will assist you, when they will assist you, but it still ends up being barely enough. And so I do think that that's when you run into people that do that, but I think that the assistance is inadequate, and I think that's by design. Yeah, let's give these people food stamps, let's give these people cheaper housing, but heaven forbid you actually give us books in our schools. Heaven forbid you actually educate us from children so that we do grow up with different opportunities. We're literate. We have the ability to read and understand and comprehend, and we can actually go out and get a job, because I don't even think you need college for that. I think that you can be smart enough if you learn those basic skills, especially coming out the hood. A lot of those people are super smart. They just be illiterate. So I feel like those types of resources, they don't want to give us because they don't want us to be competitive in the job force. So they benefit from the only people they get out are the people that scratch and really, really make it.
Yeah, I can kind of see I can kind of see both sides, but I don't know if I fully am with you, RJ, in the sense that somebody is making a career of it, because I don't see the progression. I don't see. Yeah, it was a very interesting word choice, but I don't see the benefit for the individual to want to stay in that place, because you're always locked into, I can only go as far as voters want me to go.
Oh, come on, they're not
Well,
thinking
we're not
about
thinking
that.
about that.
I know they're not thinking about that.
Not
I'm just saying, even when you go beyond that moment, even when you go back to that moment, what is the thought process to say, I want to get this forever? Like, there's no benefit. I'm locked into what? I don't even know how much it is. Like,
I don't think they go in with the mindset of, I want to get this forever. But I mean, I'm telling you, I've lived this. I still see it to this day. So it's like,
you got food stamps, right? Growing up.
Yeah.
Did you want to stay on that forever?
as a kid, you don't think that. You think you done won a lottery. It's your first of the month come, you get all these food stamps. Your mama go to this grocery store. Y'all got tons of food.
But when you
So-
realize what it was,
Still didn't have that thought process like this should be a forever thing type. No, I never even had a thought about it. But what I'm saying is, let's say I get $500 a month to feed me and 2 kids worth of food stamp. Is that enough? Probably not. But I'm saying I get 500. That's something that I don't have to worry about. Now I just need to figure out the other part, how to pay the rent. And 9 times out of 10, you might be on, some income-based rental program too. And so I know people who will not get a job or will get a job and work very few hours as to not, because there's certain requirements so they can maintain that. So if the government got my food taken care of, then I'm gonna just go work enough just to provide clothes for us and pay the rent or whatever I got. It's a balancing act. Instead of trying to better themselves, not everybody, but better themselves to get educated and make the money needed to accommodate that piece of it. Well, I no longer need that. So that's like too much work for some people. So I'd rather just stay in limbo.
No, nobody thinks that, because I think that those people, the people that would be satisfied with the government assistance, that you have to be making nothing. You have to be dirt poor for you to be satisfied with government assistance. It's not like those people are living good. People that grew up in the projects, and people was pissing in the hallways, and nobody, and if you died up there, to take the people forever to get up there and get you because the elevator is out. Like, they wasn't living good. It ain't like, oh yeah, they taking good care of us. We out here living a good life. No, their life is pretty shitty, which means that you had to, without the government assistance, life had to be worse. Working enough hours, even that, it's like, where though? McDonald's, working at whatever. Like, if you get out of the bracket where you qualify, like I said, you're not doing better.
so how do you help people? Somebody that is born into poverty, born into lack, how would you go about helping them? So in RJ's case, how would you go about helping so that they don't become, dependent upon?
I think it's too late. I think the issue is, I think that a lot of issues is that America didn't handle things appropriately when they should have.
Yeah.
I think that aid is wonderful for situations where like somebody lost a job or somebody is, struggling with like maybe somebody died, the breadwinner died, and like you need assistance. What they did was people got out of slavery, and then you go through Jim Crow or you barely trying to get a job, and then they just threw aid at it instead of the things that actually make people better, which is proper education. And so now all of a sudden you just giving people free food and cheaper housing, but not giving them education. To me, that's the key. And I don't even mean education as far as, a bunch of degrees. Fundamental math, reading comprehension, those things change people's lives. Being literate really matters, and a lot of those people, they're not. I mean, they'll hold conversations with you and they seem cool and normal, but they don't really get when they read stuff. You can't go far like that. That's hard, and so I feel like that's the issue, and that they aren't, and again, I don't think that that's lost on the government. It's cheaper or it's safer to them to just give you aid, because then you have no power. If we educate you and you become a lawyer, you become a doctor, you get actual wealth, now you have bargaining power. Now you can persuade people to think and do differently, and they don't want that. So you get aid and you keep certain people in a certain place. And I don't know if you can fix that.
Keep a person in a certain place. If a person, so I made the comment about Jared Kushner, but some of y'all may remember a little while ago before the election when Ice Cube and them had this platinum plan. That's a whole other thing. And they met with Trump's camp, and Jared Kushner made a comment, and he said the president has policies that work for black people, but he can't want a person to be more successful than they want to be successful, which clearly the implication is just clear as glass right there. I guess I wonder though, can the government actually prevent a person from becoming what that person wants to be? And does assistance help them in doing that?
Yeah, I think the government can. I mean, and I don't think that, I think there are people.
Okay, so we've seen examples where they have, but in general, overall, do you think they can prevent the majority if the majority decides otherwise?
I don't think so. I think it becomes more about willpower of those individuals. It may be a little bit harder to get to a certain level, but if you set your mind to it, and I know it sounds so cliche, but you set your mind to it, you have goals, and you can make it happen. You have the right people around you, those that may mentor, help build you up, or provide resources or direct you in
so
a
we're
path.
making an assumption. Take people from around them. They don't have the right people around them. One person, one individual.
Yeah, that's hard to say because I don't have. So okay, we'll take me for example. Grew up in the projects, 12th floor, all them stairs when the elevators was broken, pissy hallways, everything, right? No real positive role model males around me. My father's in my life, my uncles, they weren't really educated, but they were there.
That's a big difference.
Right.
That makes a difference.
So they were there. But so I didn't have graduated high school, like I told y'all, with a 1.9 because I didn't know the significance of a GPA. So whose fault is that? I don't know. I didn't know these things. All I knew in my mind is that I didn't want to live the life of the guys that I was growing up with around, because it was this repetitive thing. You get to an age 13, 14, 15, you start selling drugs like your big brothers, your big cousins, you get arrested, or you end up getting shot from the gang wars. And it was this vicious cycle, seeing them going in and out. I'm like, now I don't want that life. So what can I do? So it was a mental thing. It was a personal thing for me and mental. And I started making decisions. And that first step for me was to go to college. Didn't know what the outcome was going to be, but me going down to Wilberforce was the best decision I ever made. And it helped shape me into who I am now. So again, it was a personal thing. So I didn't necessarily have the people. Nobody was forcing me or telling me, you need to go here, you need to do this. It was a personal choice. So you can make it happen without having that network of people around
So
you.
how did you get into Wilberforce? 'Cause you said 1.9 GPA?
I did.
How you get into
And
Wilberforce?
I went to I went to the Navy because I didn't know what else to do. Found out I had asthma. They told me to get out. So I set out the rest of that little year. Like, okay, what now? My godfather was like, you should go down to Wilberforce with your god brother. I was like, I ain't never heard of a Wilberforce. Where is it? Blah, blah, blah. I applied. The threshold to get in was 2.0. So I had to write a letter, an essay, which I got help with from somebody in high school, somebody younger than me, who actually wrote my little paragraph essay of why I wanted to be in it, what I'm going to do to better my life. So it was one of those things. So I was presented an opportunity to go there, had to write a letter to get in. I got in, and the rest was history. So that's when I began to change the narrative and change.
There's so many, like you just described so many like random one-off things that were able, and I don't think that everybody that's growing up in that building have that. Just even having your dad and your uncle having a male there. Like some people don't have that. Or I think about the people whose parents are addicted to drugs and they're the breadwinner. So you graduated from high school. What about the people that have to drop out because they having to work or they having to sit? Like, there's so many aspects to like one story that's bad and then there's another story that's worse. I think that there are people that like, even like if we take like there are some people, what's the guy's name? Floyd Mayweather. And people say that he can't read or he can't write, but by sheer will, like there are people that can get out of poverty. I think that it's what has driven Black people to end up being in the entertainment, athlete, and that's why we're striving to be that, because otherwise you got to be educated. And a lot of times we didn't have that option because for whatever reason, for segregation or the way that they, the funding that they gave our schools, and so we're already kind of behind. And 100%, I think Black people, that comment from that guy is laughable because Black people are so far behind white people and still have persevered and have some of the most intelligent people and have been able to have a president and so it's like, that's funny because clearly nothing is ever given to Black people and anything that we get is by having the right, you know what I mean? And so I think that when we think about aid, I think that sometimes when we think of it negatively and we think about the people that's on it negatively, I feel like it's the way that it's by design. They've made us think of it that way. Because even when we think of aid, we think of it and we think of Black people. And it's like, well, no, white people.
Yeah, because I know there are more white people on welfare than it is Black people.
But when you say welfare, you automatically think colored. You don't think of white.
That is true.
Because most of you growing up, you see these shows. I never forget, it's so interesting when you think about the 70s, 80s or whatever, you got Good Times, and you got Archie and Edith Bunker, and it's like both of those houses probably got aid. But JJ and them are in the projects, and just everything, the set design, everything speaks a different language. And Good Times there's Coolie High, all this stuff. You hear us in our movies and our shows consistently talking about welfare and government cheese and all that stuff. In those other shows, you never really heard it. It's the working man, it's the blue collar, it's all these things. So I do believe a lot of it is media driven.
And even the way that aid is set up, to me, it wasn't meant to help. It's meant to break down the Black family, because the fact because I feel like the fact that with aid they ended up making a rule that you couldn't have a man in the house.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was probably in the 90s, maybe.
Yeah,
80s,
you would have to. The man would have to leave.
In order for you to qualify as a single mother, there could be no man in the house for you to qualify to get that
And
aid.
to me, if the point is aid
That's
to help
crazy.
a family, then why are now you make it a requirement for there not to be a man there? So if the man was there, he'd have to leave, or he'd have to, like, what is that? That's about family structure, and why would that even matter? You know what I mean? Because it ain't like just because he's a man, he has opportunity, because he don't have opportunity either. So the age shouldn't matter. So that's why I feel like I try to be careful with like feeling a way about people that are on aid, because I really do think it's by design. I do think that people can overcome it 100%. But the truth of the matter is, it's exhausting. And everybody isn't going to just like pull themselves out of the mud and the quicksand. Like, everybody don't have that.
I've never met anyone on aid that wanted to stay on aid.
The people that I know that love aid, they scamming to get it.
That's
People
true.
that love
That's
aid are the
true.
scamming aid users.
They're the one whose aid is
'Cause
like
they
their
living
third
good.
income.
They like they got a job or something, and somehow they was able to get food stamps, and they like, girl, I got my EBT card.
because
Ain't nobody
they
really
forging
happy.
documents.
Yeah.
That's a very good point. My whole point in
I
this
think
was
that's
saying
where we have issue with.
that's what we
Yes,
have issue with
for
the
sure.
scammers who get aid. But my whole point is, and bringing that up because I see it, and they get so much of it. It's like you trying to buy some stamps this month. Like
them scammers for sure,
I
because
bought them. Like listen.
because if you
lie.
really was poor like that, you wouldn't be selling them food stamps unless you a crackhead. We hope you enjoyed this episode of 1320. Please make sure you like, subscribe, follow our page, send us DMs, emails, comment. Just engage with us. Let us know how you feel, what you think of our episodes, what you think of what we've been talking about. We want to make sure that we're engaging with you. We really appreciate the support. So we'll see you next week.